Welcome to Dujiangyan! So Dujiangyan is a very famous location and there is so much in this city to do that, as always, there's just not enough time to do everything that you want to do. But these are the activities we've done, and if you are planning a trip here, then these are some of the things you could do. But the best location to go to, the ancient town, Guanxian ancient town or Guanxian ancient city. This is a really beautiful location that has very cool, sort of like what you would expect from typical Chinese architecture. The way the buildings are made, the rooftops, all kept in the style that it would have been hundreds of years ago. Now, like I've said in my previous video, we will never get the opportunity to walk around in ancient China. So walking around these ancient towns and ancient streets are pretty much the only way we're going to get the feeling of what it could be like to walk around ancient China. Now, I'm pretty sure in ancient China there isn't exactly a whole bundle of bubble tea shops, but other than that, you know, it does give you a good feeling. The streets here are quite wide, and there are certain streets that are a little bit more narrow. But other than that, I really feel like this is probably the best example of, I feel like, walking around an ancient Chinese town. It's got a beautiful grand entrance to walk into. It's got some old city walls, and then it has lots of different shops, like modern traditional style Chinese shops to bubble tea places, mostly filled with local cuisine restaurants and just some other cool little things around, as well as having more modern shops. And in this town, like I just mentioned, it has an old wall to explore. I'm not sure exactly if this wall was the edge of the ancient town or if it was just an old wall within the town or city. Quite cool to walk up there and kind of walk along the old wall. It's kind of level with some rooftops. It's almost as if you're walking along the rooftops of certain buildings, and a lot of the old wall is still kind of intact. Now, it's not exactly the largest area, so it's not going to take you too much time to go there. Just have a walk around it, touch the old wall, and continue exploring around. But definitely worth a visit if you're in the ancient town, because, well, it's right there. And at the end of the ancient town, you have the South Bridge, or Nanxiao, a very dramatic, incredible looking bridge, both in the daytime and at nighttime. We kind of got caught there in the rain, so we spent a long time checking out this bridge. Very well designed. The whole of this bridge is very well designed. It looks very cool. The ancient structure looks very cool, and then at night it's a little bit modernized with some fantastic lighting. Maybe my drone picked up the light a little too well, as it was a little too bright, but an incredible looking and incredibly well designed bridge. You're not going to spend hours here. Just walk through the bridge, get the feeling of ancient China, take a few photos, and you can move on. What really puts this location on the map is its irrigation system. Now, I'm not an engineer, I'm not an irrigation system engineer, so maybe talking about water irrigation isn't exactly going to thrill many people and make them instantly book their ticket. But there are several things about this irrigation system that are just phenomenal. I'm not going to try to explain it too much, as an engineer will be much better at explaining how it works. Irrigation system is meant to be like thousands of years old, and if this very ancient masterpiece of engineering from thousands of years ago isn't really that interesting to you, this is also located in the mountains, so it's a mountainous view. So you kind of can go up to the top and you can see a beautiful mountain landscape as well. So you kind of get two fantastic things in one as you explore the irrigation system. And again, on top of that, inside this irrigation system, there is an ancient temple. The temple was getting work done to it whilst we were there, which kind of tells me that actually a lot of the temple is really old, and it did look really old, so it's not had too much work done to it. And when you're going to the irrigation system, there are a couple of ways you can enter. The main entrance is actually near the South Bridge. However, we didn't want to walk up the mountain, so we got a taxi to the top of the irrigation system, which is higher up in the mountains, and we entered at what would be a lot of people's exit. And then we walked down the mountain which is a lot easier. Once you're kind of done exploring the ancient town, Sichuan area and Chengdu specifically is very famous for pandas, and there is a small Panda Valley here in Dujiangyan. This Panda Valley is a little different from the main one in Chengdu as it's smaller, and you can also volunteer here. Now we didn't volunteer, so I'm not sure of the procedure of being able to volunteer, but you can volunteer to help the park with the running of this small panda zoo, which is obviously super intriguing. I'm not sure how close you can get to the pandas, or whether it's just sort of like working behind the scenes in the panda place and maybe you just get to see them a little bit more, or if you can actually feed the pandas or not at certain times. But it'll be worth looking into if you do have free time and you do want to try volunteering in a panda park. We managed to see some really cute pandas, of course. However, beware of the time you go, as the pandas do sleep during the day. And when we got to the red panda area, and we walked around to try and see them, it was actually their nap time, and they obviously don't nap near the places where lots of humans are walking through, as that would be a little bit too loud. So we didn't really get to see any red pandas except for very far, where we had to zoom in very far on the camera to try and see them. But we never got to see them up close, unfortunately. Now we was there maybe around 11 o'clock. So this is around about the time the red pandas are napping. I'm not sure if the black and white pandas have a nap time at all, but just be aware of what time you're going to make sure you don't miss the pandas. Now, when you're walking around the old town, the ancient town, you will see a pagoda everywhere. We didn't actually have time to go to this pagoda. We did want to, but doing everything in the short amount of time we were there, you just kind of have to do the main things you want to do, and if you've got time left over, you can do other activities. But it's probably definitely worth checking out this pagoda if you are so inclined. It is up the mountain, so I'm assuming it will be a bit of a hike, or maybe there is a taxi you would be able to take to the top of it, but it's probably definitely a famous part of the city. So these are the main tourist attractions, specifically for the traditional part. Now there are some new activities and locations that you may be interested in, or you may not be so interested in these locations. Now you see pandas everywhere when walking around Chengdu, and the same for this location as well. And here they have a giant selfie panda. It's kind of cool to see. It's definitely made to have for people to take like Instagram photos and to post it online and sort of like draw sort of like tourism, I guess, from just being like, hey, where the hell is this giant panda? Again, you're not going to spend long at this location. You kind of go there. It is very crowded, so you do need to kind of like buy your time to make sure you get the photo you want. We got there very early in the morning, so it wasn't that busy and we was able to take the photos we wanted. Unfortunately, we couldn't take everything because it looks like events happen here as well. And at nighttime, there was sort of like a stage performance. And then during the day, the stage is kind of in the way of some of your Instagram photos. Or you could just go to the stage performance at night and have a fantastic night. And then there's this really cool, interesting bookstore. This bookstore is kind of famous around China for having very unique stores located. It's not like every store is the same. They have cool designs for their bookstore, which just, again, intrigues people to want to take Instagram style photos. And they make it look like this is an endless bookstore. They've got mirrors on the ceiling to make it look like this bookstore's just like you just have like towers of books. And for books that people wouldn't be able to reach normally, they just have sort of like printed books. So you've got a real book, and then you've just got like a photo of a book. Now this I find is actually cool. I'm not saying this in a negative way, I'm saying this in a positive way, because it makes the bookshop design look really cool and really more fascinating for you to want to go there and check it out. It's also got a cafe inside, so you can sit down and have coffee or tea or lunch and pick up a book to read as well. So I highly recommend checking out the bookstore. Now getting around most of the city is very easy, as if you're staying in the ancient town, then everything's kind of within walking distance. You'll just need to get a taxi or a bus to see the pandas, or to the bookstore if that's where you want to go. Now, because the pandas are obviously going to be a very popular location, you might want to arrive very early. And obviously taxis are going to be the fastest way to get there. The city does have bus routes, and it does have bikes you can hire if you wanted to take a cheaper option to get there. But depending on what time you want to arrive at the Panda Valley, this is where you'll need to decide what's the best form of transportation. we took the taxi to get us there as quickly as possible. I found the hotels to be in this area very well priced. I was really pleased with how much we got our hotel for. We stayed in the Xianzai Hoshi Hotel in the middle of the ancient town. It was a very good location. We was close to the exit if we needed to get a DD anywhere, and we was very close to the South Bridge as well, and all the restaurants around town. So we were able to get our hotel for under 300 RMB as we were staying here during the week as well. We stayed here for 2 nights and managed to get a pretty good deal. And all the hotels I find around this area are mostly less than 300 on the weekdays. On weekends and holidays, they will be a little bit more expensive, but still not overly expensive. Staying in the ancient town is probably, I would recommend, your best bet, as everything is here. Most of the things you're going to want to see when you come to this area will be in the ancient town, the bridge, the ancient city, trying to get to the irrigation system, trying the local food. All that will be much easier to do here. However, if you did want to stay outside, there are some really good hotels as well outside of the ancient city. You've got some really nice hotels out there, and they're still reasonably priced. If you wanted to stay closer to the Panda area, or you just wanted to be more in between Chengdu and Dujiang, then those options are available and still not that expensive. So this area is generally pretty cheap, and that's a major benefit of coming here. Our hotel, the Xianzai, was very comfortable. They gave us a free upgrade, which is always fantastic. So we got a free upgrade. Our room was slightly bigger. Our bed was very comfortable. We got this comfortable sofa we've been able to chill on as well at night. Everything was very clean here. There was a couple of cute cats running around. So it was overall just a really pleasant stay here. The inside is very modern, even though the outside does have that traditional sort of architecture, but modern on the inside, which is maybe the best of both worlds. So coming and staying here isn't going to be the biggest cost to you. I guess the biggest cost could be just getting here. If you're in and around the Chengdu, Sichuan area, the food here is apparently meant to be some of the best in the world. Dujiangyan is a part of that, of course. But however, there are more specialities in the area than just the Sichuan and Chengdu style food. Now, unfortunately, we couldn't get all of these, even though we tried very hard. We wanted to get the chicken stew. However, we went into 2 restaurants, and unfortunately it was sold out in both. In one of the restaurants, they had a massive version, and we felt that if we were to get that version, we would have just wasted so much of the food, as there was other food as well, so we wanted to try. But the smaller version of that was unfortunately sold out, so we didn't actually get to try this delicacy from the area. So if you do come here, keep an eye out for that. It seems to be very popular, as the smaller portions of that seem to sell out very quickly, as it did twice for us. Then there are some other dishes that you can also try from the local area, from the mountainous area and around the ancient town itself. They have a salted or cured pork that is very delicious. I very much enjoyed this dish. And then there is zhong duck, made by a chef called Zhong. This duck is sweet, and the one we had was very sweet, and apparently it's also meant to have sort of like a taste of soya sauce, as that's what it's meant to be cooked in. I couldn't taste any of the saltiness or the soya sauce in the duck. It just tasted very sweet to us. And then if you're struggling to find these dishes anywhere around the area, you can just fall back on the plenty of food that Sichuan and Chengdu have. This area is known to have very spicy food. A very famous dish here in Sichuan and Chengdu is mapo tofu. Spicy tofu cooked with lots of different sauces. You can just tell by looking at it. It's like a layer of hot oil or spicy oil. And you can always round out all of these dishes with just some other food that you might find appealing on the menu. If you're not too keen on trying all the spicy food, there's just so much Chinese food for you to try. Dujiangyan is a fantastic location that can be done very quickly. Initially, we thought we was only going to stay here for 1 night, as we did see some videos online where, for instance, this one girl arrived very early in the morning, went to the panda location, went to the Panda Valley, saw the giant panda, went to the ancient town, went to the irrigation system, and then made it on the train back home the same day. Now this can obviously save you money on paying for hotels, but for us this was just a little bit too quick. We wanted to explore a little bit more, we wanted to relax, we don't want to rush too much. So we was here for 2 nights, which obviously increases your cost in terms of hotel and having to buy more food. But we did want to try and try as much of the local food as we could, even though we kind of failed a little bit on that. And we wanted to not rush in each location, so we wanted to spend time taking videos and taking photos and just generally looking around to make sure we can appreciate the architecture. And this will all take a little bit longer. So it is possible to do this in 1 day. However, I would recommend, depending on what travel style you like, you can do it in 1 day or you can do it in 2 days. But this place is definitely worth seeing. There's a lot of places to go to in Sichuan. But that's it from this video. Next, you'll see us in the UK. But as we say in China, bye-bye.
Thank you.